Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media. We do this each weekday at 9 a.m., reading local and state news from the Acadiana Advocate for the Vision Impaired, all led by a wonderful group of volunteers. We have a new volunteer stepping in with us this morning. I'd like to introduce Daniel Rayburn. Daniel, thank you for joining us on the program and for volunteering to read with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to let you kind of roll with it and bring on the news. I'll be here listening if you need anything here on AOC and Cypress Street Radio.
Thank you, Mandy. Good morning, Acadiana. Kind of a light day today, but we're going to jump right on in. Starting in Lafayette, let's look at our first headline. 6 men take test for police chief. 4 candidates from Acadiana. This is by Claire Taylor. 4 Acadiana men, including 3 current or former Lafayette police officers, along with another from Shreveport and a 6th from Dallas, are in the running to become Lafayette's next police chief. Mark Romero, a chairman of a search committee appointed by Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory, announced Tuesday the names of 6 men who would take the civil service police chief exam in October. 10 men had applied for the job, but 4 did not take the exam and are no longer under consideration. The 6 include Lafayette Police spokesperson Sergeant Wayne Griffin, Lafayette Police Sergeant Paul Chouard, retired Lafayette Police Lieutenant Guy LeBreton, retired Dallas Police Deputy Chief Thomas Glover Sr., former Iberia Parish Sheriff Office Commander Bobby Jackson, and Southern University at Shreveport Police Chief Edward Reynolds. Guillory said Thursday he would like to select the new police chief by January, but the process could take a little longer. Interim Chief Scott Morgan, appointed by Guillory to replace Toby Aguillard, was supposed to hold the job for a few months, and it will soon be a year. When Guillory took office in January, he fired Aguilar, who was hired by Guillory's predecessor, Joel Robideau. Background checks are underway on the 6 remaining candidates, including criminal history, credit history, education, and employment history. The Lafayette Fire and Police Civil Service Board is expected to certify the police chief exam results December 9th. The search committee is expected to meet December 4th to review applications and may interview the candidates sometime December 10th through 11th to narrow the pool to 3 or 4. Guillory, who will select the police chief, said the right person will exhibit leadership, organization, and integrity. He will be someone who leads by example, someone who can institute a culture of transparency, a culture of doing the right thing, even when no one is looking. The race of candidates, he said, will play no role in his selection. Quote, "I will hire anyone on the basis of race," Guillory said. Correction, "I will never hire anyone on the basis of race," Guillory said. Racial tensions in the city have been high since Lafayette police fatally shot Trayford Pellerin in August, setting off a series of protests. The shootings remain under investigation by state police. 2 other police shootings occurred this year under Morgan's tenure as police chief. The status of race relations in the community, Guillory said, is extremely relevant for a new police chief. It's important, he said, that that person takes that into consideration in the decision-making process, in how they implement long-term policies, and in bringing back community policing. Our next headline today. Nonprofit head Holly Howitt to be honored. It's by Adam Daigle. Holly Howitt, founder and executive director of Beacon Community Connections, will be honored during the United Way of Acadiana's Women Who Mean Business Awards next month. Howitt is among 10 women who will be recognized during a virtual ceremony on the United Way of Acadiana's Facebook page at 6:30 p.m. on December 9th. Howitt heads up a nonprofit that bridges the gap in care and support through non-clinical case management. The group has trained navigators who help people improve social functioning by providing compassionate, non-clinical case management, which keeps their clients stable and healthy. A former speech-language therapist, Howitt also worked as a project director at the Picard Center for Child Development and Lifelong Learning, conducting action research and program evaluation on topics such as juvenile justice, literacy, and coordinated school health. She recently was executive director of the Lafayette Parish Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee and continues to facilitate community work groups, including the Justice and Health Collaborative and the Lafayette Reentry Coalition. Poat is a Leadership Lafayette Class 30 graduate and is now its program chair. She is married with one son and two stepchildren. And our next headline. Retailers gear up for Black Friday. Online ordering, curbside pickup offered. This is by Carly Wells and Timothy Boone. Black Friday shopping will look different in South Louisiana this year. Chalk it up to the coronavirus pandemic. Many retailers began offering deals earlier, but all shopping centers will be closed on Thanksgiving. Shoppers should prepare to see more hand sanitizer stations and reminders to wear their mask. And more stores will be offering curbside pickup. One thing will remain the same as in past years. Some retailers are still offering in-store deals the day after Thanksgiving, which is the traditional kickoff of the holiday shopping season. Here are the Black Friday hours for shopping centers and malls across Acadiana. Masks are required in all stores and as part of Louisiana's mask mandate. The Acadiana Mall, located at 5725 Johnson Street, Lafayette, will be closed for Thanksgiving. It'll open at 7 a.m. on Black Friday and close at 10 p.m. The Northgate Mall, located at 1800 Northeast Evangeline Thruway, Lafayette, will be closed for Thanksgiving. It'll have its regular hours on Black Friday, opening at 10 a.m. and closing at 8 p.m. Walmart locations in the area began rolling out Black Friday deals on November 4th. The last round of deals start online at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. On Black Friday, deals start at 5 a.m. in stores. Walmart also is offering free curbside pickup for online Black Friday orders. Best Buy is doing Black Friday deals all season and will offer 1 hour curbside pickup. Stores will be closed Thanksgiving Day, but orders can be placed online. Most stores open at 5 a.m. on Black Friday. Target stores in the area will be closed on Thanksgiving and will open at their regular time of 7 a.m. on Black Friday. Target is not open early for Black Friday, according to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. Target CEO said they are trying to minimize event day shopping behavior that is typical for this time of year, according to the story. As an alternative, Target started its Black Friday deals in early November. The retailer also is doubling its numbers of dedicated spots for curbside pickup across the country. In between the headlines, let me announce that Vitalant has an urgent need for blood donors. Blood and pallet donations often drop during the holiday months as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illness. But this year, the outlook is particularly worrisome. With many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses in work-from-home situations, about 1,600 Vitalant blood drives have already been canceled for November and December. Currently, there's an urgent need for O-negative blood, the universal blood type that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a Power Red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment by visiting Vitalant.org or by calling 877-25-VITAL. Also on that front, the Better Business Bureau is announcing a Thanksgiving food drive. As Acadiana looks to enjoy cooler weather and a holiday season starting with Thanksgiving, it's important to remember our community during these trying times. As part of their Impact Initiative, the Better Business Bureau serving Acadiana is hosting a food drive through November 30th. Food donations can be dropped off to the Better Business Bureau office at 4003 West Congress Street in Lafayette, and will be given to the Second Harvest Food Bank in their efforts to end hunger. The Better Business Bureau team will pick up donations if requested. Second Harvest suggested donation items include non-perishable foods and supplies, preferably in non-glass containers. These items include grains such as cereal, pasta, rice, and flour, evaporated and dry milk, cooking oils, canned fruits and vegetables, dried fruits, proteins including canned meats, dried beans and peanut butter, coffee, paper products, diapers, and cleaning products. All right. Now we're going to take a little bit wider look into a little bit of state news for the day. The headline, take a step back. State moving to modify phase 2 through end of year. This is by Sam Carlin. Facing a surge of coronavirus cases and hospitalizations ahead of Thanksgiving, Governor John Bell Edwards on Tuesday said he would move Louisiana back into a modified version of Phase 2, ordering many bars to close and most businesses back to 50% occupancy through the end of the year. Quote, "We're in for a rough patch," Edwards says. "We're going to take a step back." Edwards says gatherings will be limited to 25% capacity, or 75 people indoors and 150 outdoors, if social distancing is not possible. Restaurants, retailers, and other businesses will move from 75% to 50% occupancy. Bars and parishes with over 5% test positivity must close to indoor consumption unless they have a restaurant conditional permit, in which case they can operate at 50% capacity. Edwards said Louisiana would return to Phase 2, though it'll be modified from the Phase 2 version before. The order goes into effect Wednesday, today, ahead of Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday that health experts worry will power the spread of the virus as families and friends gather for in-person celebrations. The new restrictions effectively close bars that don't serve food in Baton Rouge and most other parishes, though the new order allows them to operate outdoor seating of fewer than 50 people. Only a handful of parishes, including Orleans, St. Bernard, Plaquemines, and some other rural parishes, still have low enough positivity rates to keep bars open, according to health department data. Jefferson, Lafayette, Caddo, and East Baton Rouge parishes have positivity rates higher than 5%. While the order will be in effect until December, the governor indicated the restrictions would stay in place through the end of the year. Quote, "Let's do this together for those you love," Edwards said, adding he hopes to keep schools open. He's asked state agencies and private employers to use teleworking as much as possible. Edwards' orders don't touch Tiger Stadium, where LSU has continued to welcome thousands of fans. The school is allowed to host up to 25% capacity. It doesn't cancel high school football as teams head into playoffs. Instead, high school football stadiums will be allowed to welcome 25% of fans into the stadium. Some parishes had gained the ability to fill 50% of their stadiums. He also left decisions on schools to local school districts. Churches will remain at 75% capacity as Edwards avoided wading back into several of the most politically fraught issues of the pandemic. After avoiding the unprecedented wave of cases and hospitalizations happening across the country for weeks, Louisiana has firmly entered the fall surge. Weekly new cases have soared to north of 11,000 as of Monday, up from around 4,000 a month ago. Louisiana now has more people per 100,000 infected by the virus than the national average. Over the past 2 weeks, 474 Louisiana residents per 100,000, up from 172 last week, were infected. That's higher than the average national rate of 356 infected patients per 100,000 people. Most concerning to state health officials is hospitalizations reached 1,000 for the first time since August 21st. At the most recent peak, during a summer wave of infections that prompted the governor to mandate masks statewide and shutter bars, hospitalizations had reached 1,600. On Tuesday, the number continued to rise to 1,052. The White House Coronavirus Task Force has sent Louisiana increasingly dire reports about the surge. This week, the task force said all states and all parishes must flatten the curve to sustain healthy capacity, and said significant behavior change is required to tamp it down. Quote, "Ensure masks at all times in public. Increase physical distancing through significant reduction in capacity in public and private indoor spaces, and ensure every American understands the clear risk of any family or friend interactions outside of their immediate household indoors without masks," the report said. Hospital leaders in Louisiana have warned the level of infections is on course to overwhelm health facilities around the state. Last week, as Edwards and others pleaded with people not to hold large Thanksgiving gatherings, Dr. Christopher Thomas, a critical care physician at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center, said overworked nurses and other health workers are quitting, and the hospital doesn't have the capacity to weather another surge like the one seen in the summer. We have the beds, Thomas said. What we don't have is enough nurses in all of the beds in all of the hospitals in the state of Louisiana. Suzanne Strafe Bourgeois, an epidemiology professor at LSU Health Sciences Center, New Orleans, said, "Unfortunately, I think it might be a good idea to implement new restrictions." Strafe Bourgeois said the restrictions could see diminishing returns, as increasing numbers of people experience COVID-19 fatigue and host gatherings at their homes. There's this big COVID-19 fatigue, and I think it's very difficult to come to people. There's a very high prevalence of disease in Louisiana, so you're at a much higher risk to get it and infect someone else, she said. People are tired. People really don't think too much about it anymore, I'm afraid. Holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Everyone wants to get together. Paul Sales, president of the Louisiana Hospital Association, wrote in a letter to news outlets that while we can create additional beds and repurpose hospital floors, it becomes extremely difficult to find and train the caregivers needed to properly treat patients when there is an unmitigated spread of the virus in our communities. The restrictions come as Edwards, a Democrat, continues to face opposition from Republican officials in Louisiana. GOP members of the State House sent him a petition in late October ordering him to cancel all of Louisiana's virus restrictions, which would have allowed bars, restaurants, and other businesses to operate at 100% capacity with no mask requirement. A judge struck down the move as unconstitutional, handing Attorney General Jeff Landry a defeat in court. To our next state headline. Cassidy, top Louisiana Republican, to call race for Biden, by Brian Stoll. Newly re-elected U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy on Monday became the first prominent Louisiana Republican to publicly acknowledge former Vice President Joe Biden's win in the November 3rd presidential election. Quote, "I voted for President Trump, but Joe Biden won," Cassidy wrote in a series of tweets. "The transition should begin for the sake of the country." Cassidy's statement came after Michigan, one of several key battleground states that broke for Biden to help the Democrat defeat President Donald Trump, officially certified its election votes Monday. The move meant enough states have taken the formal steps of officially certifying their results to give Biden more than 270 electoral votes, the total needed to claim the presidency. Also on Monday, the head of the Federal General Services Administration, which manages buildings and real estate owned or used by the federal government, announced that it would begin providing office space and other amenities to Biden, a step the agency, controversially, had not taken. Trump himself has not conceded, instead spewing a steady stream of unsupported allegations that a massive conspiracy had denied him a second term, although he did tweet on Monday that he was recommending that the GSA follow initial protocols on the transition. Trump followed that tweet with a string of messages vowing not to concede. Biden won in Michigan with 50.6% of the vote to Trump's 47.8%, a sizable margin in a state that Trump carried in 2016. Yet Trump's re-election campaign and some of the president's most steadfast supporters had pushed unsupported claims of widespread fraud in Michigan and clung to hopes that courts might overturn the results there. But Trump's legal team has seen its legal challenges in Michigan and elsewhere tossed out in the 3 weeks since the election. And the president's lawyers have yet to come up with any evidence of fraud or irregularities on a scale that might affect the final tally in Michigan or any other close state, including Arizona, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Georgia. Even in the unlikely event Trump were able to flip the results in a single contested state, moreover, it would not be enough to challenge the outcome of the election. President Trump's legal team has not presented evidence of the massive fraud which would have had to be present to overturn the election, Senator Cassidy wrote. A number of Cassidy's supporters lit into the senator on social media in response to those comments, with some accusing him of betraying Trump and accusing him of being a fake Republican. Other critics, meanwhile, blasted Cassidy for waiting nearly 2 weeks after every major news organization called the election for Biden. Lafayette is now offering requests for mosquito control available through Lafayette 311. The Lafayette Consolidated Government is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish. An increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event. Citizens noticing an influx in mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. And while we're looking at that, the Acadiana Symphony Orchestra takes the virtual stage. The Acadiana Symphony Orchestra announces that they are shifting the fall portion of their ASO 36 revival season, which runs from September to December, to a virtual live stream platform. The Acadiana Symphony Orchestra believes this is the unquestionable solution to keeping our community safe, while still providing opportunities for local musicians to share their passion and earn income despite mandated restrictions and uncertain venue viability. Acadiana Symphony Orchestra has and will always remain committed to providing outstanding performance to Acadiana and fueling the cultural economy of our region. Symphonies, businesses, and organizations across the country are having to rethink, retool, and reinvent. And we're no different. So thank you for your grace and your patience as we map out the next few months. We are working tirelessly behind the scenes to solidify plans for these virtual concerts, and it is our commitment to you that we will clearly and concisely communicate ASO 36 Revival Series details in the coming weeks. At a minimum, we are certain that you will receive the highest quality live streaming performances, which you can enjoy from virtually anywhere. And looking at the remaining performance, the lineup includes a performance of Believe on Thursday, December 17th of this year. It'll be a virtual performance. One that they're calling Adore, which will be next year, Friday, February 12th of 2021 at the Acadiana Center for the Arts. As of now, tentatively. Empowered, Friday, which will be at Friday, April 16th, 2021, listed at St. John's Cathedral. And Revive, which is being listed for Thursday, May 13th, 2021 at St. Mary's Church. Now we're going to take a small break from the state news to look at a few other things, including our obituaries, horoscopes, what's in history for today. And we're going to begin with our obituary and funerals. Funerals today in the Acadiana area include Dorothy Chauvin. It'll be at St. Jules Catholic Church at 1 p.m. Renee Hoffpierre at St. Joseph's Catholic Church at 11 a.m. And Paul Rowe II at David Funeral Home at 11 a.m. Looking at today's Today in History, it's brought to us by the Associated Press. Today is Wednesday, November 25th, the 330th day of 2020. There are 36 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history. On November 25th, 2002, President George W. Bush signed legislation creating the Department of Homeland Security and appointed Tom Ridge to its head. Also on this date, in 1915, a new version of the Ku Klux Klan targeting blacks, Jews, Catholics, and immigrants was founded by William Joseph Simmons. In 1961, the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the USS Enterprise, was commissioned. In 1963, the body of President John F. Kennedy was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. His widow, Jacqueline, lit an eternal flame at the gravesite. In 1986, the Iran-Contra affair erupted as President Ronald Reagan and Attorney General Edwin Meese revealed that profits from secret arms sales to Iran had been diverted to Nicaraguan rebels. In 1999, Elian Gonzalez, a 5-year-old Cuban boy, was rescued by a pair of sports fishermen off the coast of Florida, setting off an international custody battle. In 2009, Toyota said it would replace the gas pedals on 4 million vehicles in the United States because the pedals could get stuck in the floor mats and cause sudden acceleration. In 2014, attorneys for Michael Brown's family vowed to push for federal charges against the Ferguson, Missouri police officer who killed the black 18-year-old a day after a grand jury declined to indict Darren Wilson. The Justice Department later declined to prosecute Wilson as well. In 2018, U.S. border agents fired tear gas on hundreds of migrants protesting near the border with Mexico after some of them tried to get through fencing and wire separating the two countries. U.S. authorities temporarily shut down the border crossing from Tijuana, Mexico, where thousands were waiting to apply for asylum. On this date 10 years ago, incumbent Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki cemented his grip on power, bringing an end to nearly 9 months of political deadlock after he was asked to form the next government. 5 years ago on this date, Vice President Joe Biden attended an urgent summit of Southeast European leaders in Zagreb, Croatia, focusing on tensions and security concerns over a surge of asylum seekers and migrants across the region. 1 year ago on this date, a federal judge said former White House counsel Donald McGahn would have to appear before Congress to testify in the impeachment investigation. An appeal court later undid that ruling, finding that federal judges had no role to play in the subpoena fight. Well, and here are today's famous birthdays. We have actor Catherine Cosby is 87. Actor Christopher Rodin is 83. Pro Football Hall of Fame coach Joe Gibbs is 80. Singer Bob Lind is 78. Author, actor, and economist Ben Stein is 76. Actor John Larroquette is 73. Actor Tracy Walter is also 73. Movie director Jonathan Kaplan is also 73. Author Charlaine Harris is 69. Retired MLB All-Star Bucky Dent is 69. Dance judge Bruno Toninelli, TV's Dancing with the Stars, is 65. Singer Amy Grant is 60. Former NFL quarterback Bernie Kosar is 57. Rock musician Eric Grossman of Kay's Choice is 56. Rock musician Scott Marsato is 56. Rock singer Mark Lanigan is 56. A lot of 56. Rock singer-musician Tim Armstrong is 55. Actor Steve Harris has turned 55. Actor Billy Burke is 54. Singer Stacey Ladisaw is 54. Rock musician Rodney Shepherd of the band Sugar Ray is 54. Rapper-producer Eric Sermon has turned 52. Actor Jill Hennessy is 51. Actor Christina Applegate is 49. Actor Eddie Steeples is 47. Actor Kristen Narn is 45. Former NFL quarterback Donovan McNabb has turned 44. Actor Jill Flint turns 43. Actor Jerry Ferrara, 41. And actor Joel Kinnaman is turning 41 today as well. Looking into our zodiac for today, we will start with Sagittarius for those born November 23rd through December 21st. And the zodiac reads, set up an area at home conducive to achieving your goals. Whether you're working on fitness, learning something new, or expanding your interest, an allotted space will encourage success. For our Capricorns, that's December 22nd through January 19th, it reads, keep your opinions to yourself to avoid getting into a debate with a friend, peer, or family member. Spend your time making positive changes. For the Aquariuses, that's January 20th through February 19th. Pour your energy into getting ahead. Send out resumes, upgrade your skills, or make professional or lifestyle changes. Take control of your life and learn the lessons of the past. For the Pisces, which is February 20th to March 20th, send more time sorting through documents, legal paperwork, contracts, or financial investments. Once you know where you stand, you'll be able to make positive changes. For the Aries, which is March 21st through April 19th, I'm an Aries. Put everything in perspective and follow the path that suits you best. Offering equality and appreciation will help you get what you want. To our Tauruses out there, for Taurus, that's April 20th through May 20th. Spend less time worrying about what others are doing and more time working towards your goals. Anger will not be helpful. It's up to you to bring about the changes required for you to excel. Gemini, that's for May 21st through June 20th, birthdays out there. Being mysterious will be to your advantage. Don't put yourself in a vulnerable or risky position. If you keep your opinions and intentions to yourself, you'll accomplish what you set out to do. Okay, and now we're going to look at Cancer here. That's birthdays between June 21st and July 22nd. Spend more time developing your ideas and focusing on what will help your financial situation. Argument will be a waste of time. Thinking ahead will lead to positive results. For Leo, birthdays from July 23rd to August 22nd. Don't feel that you must agree with someone who is making decisions you don't like. Do your own thing and concentrate on honing and updating your skills. Be energetic in all things. For Virgo, that's birthdays of August 23rd through September 22nd. A change of scenery will help stimulate your mind. You will get a tip on how best to use your skills to keep up with the latest trends and economic climate. For Libra, which is September 23rd through October 23rd, refuse to let anyone drag you down. An energetic approach to life, love, and happiness will pay off. Embrace the future with an open mind. You will discover a new way to use your skills. And our final horoscope for today is for Scorpio. That's birthdays of October 24th through November 22nd. It is make personal changes that will improve your life. Researching alternatives will help you make a better decision about where you want to live and how you want to spend your time. All right, and that's going to be our horoscopes for today, as long with some of our other more entertaining parts here. Just another quick little ad here for y'all. The Acadiana Open Channel is teaming up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with Acadiana Open Channel and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United programs air weekly from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, which is Cox 16 or LUS 4, and streaming at AOC Inc., that's AOCINC.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit content for the program, please visit the United Way of Acadiana's website, which is United Way of Acadiana, all one word, .org/learn-united. Also, if you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding this public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7. All calls are confidential. Please call 1-866-310-7977. One more time, that is 1-866-310-7977. And with that, we're going to try and hop back into state news. Finish that up so then we can take a look at sports in the area. All right. So, back to our state headlines. We have gas tax plan faces familiar hurdles by Wilson Tell. A new push to boost Louisiana's gas tax is underway, but it faces the same massive hurdles that have killed earlier efforts. A group led by former state representative Eric Ponte wants the legislation to raise the gas tax 10 cents per gallon initially, which would be $300 million per year, and 22 cents eventually, about $660 million annually. Ponte, like the leaders of earlier efforts, noted the tax has not been changed in 3 decades amid deteriorating roads and bridges and daily complaints from motorists. Quote, "The need is great. There is no denying it," said Ponte, executive director of the Louisiana Asphalt Pavement Association. But recent efforts to boost the gas tax point up the difficulty of winning approval for any plan or even getting a vote. In 2017, an effort to increase the tax by 17 cents per gallon, or $510 million per year, won approval from a single House committee before dying without a vote in the full state House or Senate. It was led by Sean Wilson, Secretary for the State Department of Transportation and Development, and followed public hearings and months of study. In 2018, Ponte's group, the Louisiana Coalition to Fix Our Roads, tried to drum up interest for an increase in 2019, which was an election year. Tax hikes can be considered in only odd number years designated as fiscal sessions. It failed to even get a hearing. Wilson has said any such effort needs the support of Governor Edwards, Senate President Paige Cortez, a Republican of Lafayette, and House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, a Republican of Gonzales. The 2017 effort had the blessings of the governor, and Edwards is said to be open to the idea still. Cortez, former chairman of the Senate Transportation Committee, said earlier this year that he doubts any such increase will happen in the next 4 years, in part because the House is viewed as more conservative than previously. Boosting the gas tax requires the support of 2/3 of the House and Senate, 70 in the House and 26 in the Senate, respectively, and represents one of the biggest challenges in the legislature. Cortez said this week any successful push would have to be preceded by an education campaign so voters know exactly how the money would be used. Motorists today pay 38.4 cents per gallon, including 20 cents in state charges. Louisiana ranks 43rd in the United States in what it charges, according to the Tax Foundation. California tops in the nation at 62.47 cents per gallon in state taxes. Alaska is 50th at 13.77 cents per gallon. Since 2013, a total of 30 states in the District of Columbia has raised their gas taxes, a tally by the National Conference of State Legislators shows. That list includes Alabama, South Carolina, Arkansas, Georgia, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Ponte's coalition includes the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, Acadiana Ambulance, and the North Shore Business Council. Elizabeth Smith, Vice President for Economic Competitiveness for BRAC, said state governments will be looking for ways to generate dollars in 2021 amid the drop in revenue sparked by the coronavirus pandemic. Smith said boosting the gas tax would mean construction and engineering jobs. It is a very critical time to have that kind of investment. Not to mention, it has been 30 years since we've had that kind of investment, Ponte said. But a group that helped kill the 2017 gas tax proposal, including a door-to-door campaign against it, opposes the latest one too. Raising the gas tax was a bad idea in 2017 and 2019, and it's a terrible idea now with over 320,000 Louisianians out of work. James Lee, Deputy State Director of the Virginia-based Americans for Prosperity Louisiana, said in an email. Eric Ponte heads the Asphalt Pavement Association, is only interested in seeing the state spend more money, not spending it well or giving Louisianians the transparency they deserve, Lee said. This new gas tax will fail once again, not just because it's a bad idea, but because it continues to deny transparency. The bill would allocate 60% of the money for highway and bridge preservation and 40% for new projects. It would require the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of the DOTD, another sticking point in earlier debates, and making recommendations for savings. State Representative Jack McFarland, Republican of Jonesboro, a member of the House Appropriations Committee, has said he will sponsor the legislation. Wilson said he discussed the proposal with McFarland, but did not get into lots of specifics because the legislation is still taking shape. We agree that you have to do something that is substantial, he said. Wilson said a complicating factor could be possible federal legislation on highways and other infrastructure in the year 2021. Our next headline, continuing his call. Despite ouster, former priest keeps up fight for women's ordination. This is by Ken Stickney. It's been 60 years since Roy Bourgeois had made an impact in his old college town, but his life's work has been felt elsewhere. Vietnam as a decorated Navy officer, South America as a missionary priest, in protest at the gates of the School of the Americas in Fort Benning, Georgia, the School of Assassins, as detractors insist, and finally as a radical priest whose efforts in support of ordaining female priests in the Catholic Church ended with him licensed from the Mary Knoll order, outside the church looking in. That's where he remains today. Bourgeois couldn't have envisioned all of that as a teenager from Lutcher when he arrived at the University of Southwestern Louisiana in 1956. Back then, he said his goal was to get rich in the oil and gas industry. He earned a geology degree with a first stop in the military. But Bourgeois liked the Navy, especially the travel, and considered it for a career before volunteering for duty in Vietnam. Thus, he experienced war's violence. He was awarded a Purple Heart for his service, but also witnessed the joy of missionary work as a volunteer in a Vietnamese Catholic orphanage led by the Reverend Lucian Oliver, whose work inspired him to consider holy orders. An army chaplain in Vietnam posed the possibility of him joining the Mary Knoll order of priests based in New York, and whose mission included serving the poor in Asia, South America, Central America, and Africa. 6 years of study preceded his final vows as a priest in 1972. Bourgeois says he became a priest to help the poor, but did so by fighting the powerful. Sent to La Paz, Bolivia in the 1970s, he said he saw poverty exacerbated by a dictator's harsh rule. He participated in protest work along with missionary work for 5 years, until he was arrested and deported. His attention turned to El Salvador in 1980, where Archbishop Oscar Romero, who defended the poor and rebels against the government, was assassinated while celebrating Mass. Determining who killed Romero proved elusive, although most people point to the involvement by the National Police, including some trained at the School of Americas in Georgia. In 1989, assassins identified as military entered a university in El Salvador and killed 6 Jesuit priests, their housekeeper, and her daughter. The suspicion was that the killings were done by more American-trained soldiers from El Salvador. Bourgeois traveled to Fort Benning in 1990 and began 2 decades of nonviolent protest work against the SOA, which Bourgeois said was behind the killings. He traveled to schools, churches, and peace groups to generate support for the protest. He also spent time in jail for aggressively trying to persuade those being trained to not take up arms against Latin American people. He piped into the fort recordings of Romero's sermons, sometimes crossing the lines that the army had set and eventually landing behind bars. During his protest work, he said, he met many women of faith who stood alongside him, even in going to jail. Some felt shunned by their church because he said it would not ordain them as priests. That, Bourgeois wrote in a short biographical book, led him to question why women are barred from becoming priests. Who are we as men to reject God's call to women, he wrote in My Journey from Silence to Solidarity, a biography. As early as 1995, he wrote to Pope John Paul II to champion the cause of women in the priesthood. In his letter, he wrote, I do not see the policy as rooted in scriptures or in the teachings of Jesus, but rather in the sin of sexism and the quest for power. Bourgeois became a 2-issue protester, for peace and for women's ordination. In 2008, he said, he not only attended an ordination for a woman into the priesthood in Kentucky, but also was the homilist at what the church said was a simulated mass, citing Galatians 3:26-28, there is neither male nor female in the eyes of the early church. He continued speaking out against the SOA, but at public appearances would add a pitch for women's ordination. In a visit to Rome, he spoke out against the training of Latin American soldiers at Fort Benning, which led to an invitation to speak on Vatican radio for 15 minutes. His presentation on promoting peace went fine for about 13 minutes, he said, when he turned his presentation to addressing another injustice, barring women from the priesthood. He spoke for about a minute when the broadcast was cut off, he recollected, in favor of a minute of Gregorian chants. That began a lengthy dispute between the Vatican and Bourgeois. The Vatican demanded he recant about women's ordination. Bourgeois said he had to follow his conscience on the issue. On November 19, 2012, he learned he had been ousted from the priesthood and dismissed from his religious order. The ouster neither ended his work with SOA Watch, which he founded, nor his outspokenness in championing female priests. The latest effort on the latter involves a billboard campaign in favor of women's ordination. A billboard hovers over the Evangeline Thruway in Lafayette, the second one erected by Bourgeois' organization bearing the image of Judy Heffernan, ordained outside the Catholic Church channels, and will remain there into 2021, he said. Someday, he said, the tide will turn on this issue. Bourgeois insists he is carrying out a priestly mission in his protests despite the church's decisions. Once a priest, always a priest, he said. And now we'll move on to sports. Our first sports headline. Cajun Hoops Thinking Big, From Aspirations to Roster Size, by Kevin Foote. There will be two major differences on the UL men's basketball team from a year ago. One won't always be easy to detect from the stands. The other will be obvious at first glance. In Coach Bob Marlin's master plan, both a close-knit team and one with much more size will be equally important as his Raging Cajuns attack their goal of winning the Sun Belt Conference Championship. The first one is a complete turnaround in team chemistry. Quote, it's not a thinking thing with me, I know, Marlin said of his team's bond. I've done this long enough. I can tell this group has it. They get along well. It's just different personalities and egos. We don't have the same players that we had last year. The group that we have known are all high-character young men. Frankly, neither Marlin or his star players hid the fact that last year's shorthanded 14-19 team wasn't a squad always pulling in the same direction. One big thing that I've seen since the jump is that everyone wants to win, senior guard Cedric Russell said. There are no egos getting in the way. There's no one here saying, I have to go get X amount of rebounds or I have to get X amount of points. Everyone has really bought into winning. I'm just going to say that's something we didn't have last year. At the end of the day, when you've got guys like this on your team, you're willing to fight for them. For starters, the team thus far is much closer off the court, which is carried over into productive practice sessions. The vibe in the locker room is very different from last year, sophomore guard Malik Wilson said. This year is really all about the team. You can really tell we're always hanging together, going to the cafe. We can really feel the difference from last year. But really, it's about the individual goals of each player being the same. Quote, guys were worried about numbers last year, Russell said. They were worried about getting theirs, and it didn't matter about the biggest number, which is a loss or a win. We don't have guys like that this year. On paper, the Cajuns have to replace 3 of their top 7 scorers from a year ago, including their leading scorer in rebound in Jalen Johnson, who averaged 15.5 points and 6.6 rebounds. Johnson transferred to Mississippi State, while Tyrus Smith, averaging 8.3 points and 5.9 rebounds, transferred to Mississippi Valley State. PJ Hardy, who averages 10.9 points last season, was a senior last season. At times last season, the Cajuns had as few as 8 or 9 players available. Injuries remain a reality, with Kobe Julian and DeRay Cadwell recently having surgery, and hopes are that they can return by late January. Also, junior guard Trajan Wesley remains slowed by his nagging foot injury. But a large group of newcomers have heightened expectations for the Cajuns, who were picked to finish second in the Sun Belt West this season. 2 of those new faces are 6'11" junior Theo Akwamba and 6'10" freshman Isaiah Richards. Add 6'7" Cal transfer Jacoby Gordon and 6'9" Dow Guay back from his second season at UL, and suddenly the Cajuns have the ability to rebound and protect the rim that wasn't there a year ago. Guys are sharing the ball and taking good care of it for the most part, and we've got a good rebounding team, Marlin said. Theo Akwaka, Dow Gway, and Isaiah Richards, those guys are a force at the glass so far, and I feel like they'll continue to do that. Theo is a shot blocker. We've had some incredible plays on a daily basis in practice. We could put together a pretty good highlight tape out of the 25 practices that we've had involving several different players. Agwuba, a transfer from Portland and originally from Montgomery, Alabama, will likely be more of a scoring threat than Richards. But either way, UL has a front court capable of competing in the paint. Both can shoot the three-point shot, Coach Marlin said. They can stretch the floor. They won't shoot a lot of them, but they can make them. They do a good job in practice. They do a good job of scoring around the goal. Theo is really good with his left hand, and he dunks anything around the block because he's so long. He can jump up and dunk the ball when you don't think he can get to the rim. Isaiah is real quick off his feet, too. Both are excellent runners. Both are good shot blockers, and both are good rebounders. They can score on the inside. In Gway, Marlin sees him being one of the best defenders in the Sun Belt, as well as a valuable rebounder. It's very simple, Marlin said. We've got to take good care of the basketball. We've got to make shots, take good shots, and make good shots. We've got to rebound the ball, and we've got to play good defense. I feel like we're light years ahead of where we were last year defensively. Sticking with basketball, we've got a college basketball preview here. Headline, an early obstacle. Cajun women hope 2-week quarantine doesn't halt momentum. Also by Kevin Foote. The offseason has gone better for UL than it did for just about any program in the country. UL coach Gary Broadhead's women's basketball squad hasn't missed anyone for any practice sessions due to COVID-19 from the summer until November. That recently changed, however. A positive test on the squad has forced a 2-week quarantine. Now Broadhead waits to see if the momentum for his motivated Raging Cajuns slips at all in preparation for the new season opener against North Texas on December 4th. It could, said Broadhead, whose Cajuns were picked to finish second in the Sun Belt West after going 19-12 last season. I'm anxious to get back started. I've found over the years when we take a couple of days off, it kind of slows us down, so that's a big concern of mine. Everything was going so great. I felt like we were really ahead of the game. We'll just have to work on ourselves again and try and get ourselves ready. Broadhead's Cajuns thought they were headed to New Orleans for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament's Final Four in March when the coronavirus shutdown hit. So it became a theme of unfinished business throughout the summer. Now the team has to remain patient yet again, not being allowed back to practice until the day after Thanksgiving. The first two scheduled games against UNO on November 25th and Loyola on November 30th have been canceled. Before the interruption, though, Broadhead was more than excited. I thought we were deep, he said. I thought defensively we were probably as good as we've been in the past. Offensively, it just looks like we're going to score more. We've added some newcomers, and that's really helped our athleticism, but it looks like most of the scoring will come from the returners. So, even though the team is in quarantine, constant calls from the coaching staff to keep up have produced encouraging results. It seems like they're more motivated than ever to get back, Broadhead said. Before leaving, the inter-squad scrimmages have been like nothing Broadhead has seen in the last 4 seasons. Our scrimmages are so much better, Broadhead said. They're just battling. Everyone is a 2 or 4 point game because both teams can guard. We don't have any real weaknesses from anyone across the board on the defensive side. Usually we have to hide a couple players, and we're just athletic. Much of the scoring will come from seasoned veterans like junior Brandy Williams, who averaged 11.7 points per game last year, and Tyronia Doucette, who averaged 12.6 points a game with 7.6 rebounds. Williams is looking to become a more consistent scoring threat as a junior. It's not that she had a sophomore slump, but people really start guarding her, Broadhead said. I think last year she thought it was just going to carry over from her freshman year. She's shooting it well. She's stronger, in better shape, and spending more time on her game. The newcomers like Weatherford College junior transfer Destiny McAfee have looked promising. She's the most athletic kid we've ever had, Broadhead said. It's close, but I think that Destiny is faster than ex-UL star Keel Wilridge. I really do, and she's bigger. Offensively, she's gotten a little more comfortable. Defensively on the ball, she can really guard. She's very coachable. She wants to make sure she's doing things exactly right. Broadhead is also hoping for a boost from Lafayette Christian's newcomer Tamara Johnson and Bree Porter. She can defend and she can rebound, Broadhead said of Johnson. She can guard inside or out. Broadhead said the quarantine has negatively impacted Porter more than any other player, but she's expected to help in the paint defensively and on the boards. We're hoping by the time she gets to conference, she'll be ready to help us on the inside, Broadhead said. All right, and now we will look at our final sports headline and our final headline of the day. It is another college basketball preview. Headline, Season of Unknowns. In uncertain times, LSU is at a better starting point than most others. This comes from Time Out by Scott Rabelais. If there's anything certain about our world right at the moment, it is uncertainty, especially when it comes to sport. Schedules shift like desert sands. Games are planned, moved, canceled, and replaced. The entire sports scene is one big etch-a-sketch, always trying to stay one twist ahead of a wily, deadly virus, the ultimate opponent. The ultimate game to finish the season and somehow, some way, crown a champion. That didn't happen in March when sports everywhere started to lift their drawbridges. Huge swaths of sports schedules were swept away by a great tide. There's no guarantee that now, as the holiday season begins with coronavirus alarm bells ringing all around the world, drowning out the Christmas bells, that championships can be decided. But it is certainly worth attempting trying anyway. What will unfold in this college basketball season that tips off this week is anyone's guess. There are valuable lessons and hard facts of the sports and seasons that have gone on before, from the NBA, NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, and college football. The plan is now to follow the NBA bubble plan in a sense and turn Indianapolis into a fortress March Madness where the entire NCAA tournament will happen. As we've seen in other sports, games will no doubt be postponed and canceled and scrambled as players and teams deal with outbreaks. It is the awful variable of rolling cosmic dice or the turn of a card, a fortune teller's card. Will the luck be with this team or that team? No one can say. But there are certainly some key elements you want to have on your side to weather the storm that may come. Talent, experience, depth, and coaching. By those measurables, the LSU Tigers are the kind of team you want to have in a tight corner. Quote, top to bottom, this is probably the best roster we've had since I've been here, LSU coach Will Wade said. High praise indeed, considering LSU's 2018-2019 SEC champions won 28 games and reached the NCAA Sweet 16. There is a lot we don't know about LSU, which went 21-10 last season, tied for second in the Southeastern Conference, and was a lock for an NCAA bid. How will the Tigers fare without Skylar Mays' leadership and clutch offense? How will LSU's many newcomers like Cam Thomas and Brian Penn Johnson and Sharif O'Neal, son of Shaquille O'Neal, mesh with the veterans like Javonte Smart, Trendon Watford, and Darius Days? And can any of them help the Tigers play better defense? The Tigers under Wade have always played top-shelf offense. In his 3 seasons, LSU was ranked third, second in the SEC in scoring, and in 2019-2020 was the only team to rank in the top 3 in the league in field goal percentage at 47.1%, points scored at an average of 80.5 points per game, and free throw percentage at an impressive 76.9%. But LSU was 11th in the conference, allowing 73.3 points per game, a number that needs to improve if the Tigers are to challenge for the SEC title and a deep trip into the NCAA tournament. Wade is expected to run the defense personally. He's betting that he and LSU will find a way to play a reasonably better defense. Of course, there is an even bigger issue stalking the team that's out there lurking. The NCAA's investigation into possible recruiting violations under Wade has not gone away, just faded somewhat into the background. The whole thing has been tossed into the lap of the Independent Accountability Resolution Process Panel. If there is any good news for this LSU team adrift in the sea of the season's uncertainty, it is that the panel is not expected to render its review until after the 2021 campaign is over. That likely means a skilled LSU team has a chance to show its stuff before anything can happen to negatively impact the program from an enforcement standpoint. Someday, this pandemic will end. Someday, the NCAA will wrap up its investigation of the LSU basketball program. Where LSU will wind up on the other end, whether the program can extend what is already its longest stretch of successful stability since the Dale Brown era, remains to be seen. But in a season of staggering unknowns, the Tigers will probably take their circumstances over where most other programs are starting from, try to go as far as they can, then figure out where they go from there. Just a couple other announcements, and then that'll be the news for today. So, just to wrap it up, Medicaid is now covering coronavirus testing for Louisiana residents without insurance. This coverage is available to people without insurance who are Louisiana residents until the end of the federal public health emergency. You must also be a U.S. citizen or meet immigration status requirements to qualify. If you need to find a doctor near you to do testing, dial 211. If you have questions, call us at 1-888-544-7996. You can apply for coverage in the doctor's office so that you do not have to pay for testing. When you go to get tested, the provider may ask you to apply for Medicaid. They will help you fill out the simple form. Note, providers must accept Medicaid if seeking coverage under this option. You can get the application at www.healthy.la.gov, a provider, or you can submit the paper application by email, fax, or mail. You can also call 1-888-544-7996 to apply over the phone. You can send completed paper by email to COVID UNINSURED uninsured, so that's COVID uninsured at la.gov. The fax number is 1-866-852-0415. You can also mail it to COVID uninsured applications at P.O. Box 64808, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70806. You only have to fill out this form once, even if you need multiple coronavirus tests. Coverage begins 3 months before application date and will stay in place through the end of the coronavirus event. Please, and to help stop the spread, for the latest COVID-19 updates and information, please visit www.311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you're a business owner, employees, or looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. And our last announcement of the day. Individuals whose hours are reduced at work or who have been laid off for unemployment may qualify for unemployment insurance benefits. If you're attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and are not able to access an existing online account or need help resetting your password, call Lafayette's Acadiana Workforce Solution Office at 337-262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately. Call again at a later time or contact one of Louisiana's other offices for assistance. You can also find more information at www.laworks.net. In addition to unemployment insurance benefits, individuals looking for supplemental income can consider local employment opportunities with businesses who are seeking temporary, part-time, and full-time workers by visiting the COVID-19 Help Wanted resource page at www.lafayette.org/helpwanted, or LIDA's virtual job fair page with local businesses seeking to hire local candidates for full-time employment opportunities at www.lafayette.org/jobs. That is the news for today, Wednesday, November 25th.